intellectual property and the way intellectual property is approached in Switzerland and also in Portugal, and what commonalities are there and what benefits can we have from exchange of best practices. So we have a very good panel. We have Ms. Catherine Chamartin, President of the Swiss IP Office. We also have Engineer Ana Bandeira. She's the President of the Portuguese IP Office. We have two very good moderators, Daniel Ribeira and Joana Periquito Santos. They will be leading the discussion on the corporate side of the issue and on the academic side of the issue. So and this will happen right after this first segment. But without further ado, and to speed things up, so I will give the word to my ambassador in Bern, His Excellency Júlio Vilela. I think he's online and waiting for us to give him the floor. Mr. Ambassador.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Thank you very much, Gonçalo, and good afternoon to all the participants, attendees, and speakers, allowing me to greet both those who are attending the event in person and those who, like me, are attending remotely. My greetings to my colleague Gonçalo Mota, who is largely responsible for the initiative, to the President of the Portuguese National Institute of Intellectual Property, and to the Director General of the Swiss Federal Institute of Intellectual Property, INPI's Swiss counterpart. Portugal and Switzerland, European nations, share a bilateral relationship with more than 200 years and have been developing it without major constraints more intensively in the last decades. The Portuguese community living here, the third largest in terms of statistics, is also a community committed to deepening business and research ties. Sharing and knowing more of how intellectual property is handled in Switzerland, creating an environment conducive to gathering contributions, exchanging good practices and experience in the area, with the aim of stimulating its use in Portugal as a way of enhancing the value of innovative products, as well as increasing the return for those who innovate with an upgrade in the country's gross domestic income, are topics of clear importance to both parties. This will be also an excellent opportunity to outline in Switzerland, a country with a well-known international reputation for research and development, Portuguese innovation, often little known, but which is progressively making a name for itself in various fields of national economic production. This should be valued even more, as it has contributed to Portugal being looked at with increasing interest by foreign partners, as it is the case with the Swiss business world. Only a country that is recognized for having highly qualified human resources, a business environment that is increasingly based on new technologies, with growing comparative advantages, and which exponentiates talent when it presents its products, its new products, can be attractive enough for companies like Galliker, La Poste, Beyond Gravity, Smart Energy, Fisher Connectors, not forgetting renowned Nestlé, Roche, and Novartis, among others, operating today in Portugal with opening business and research centers, training in new technologies, expanding the renewable energy sector, or creating factories to produce fully electric cars or buses. As it is also true that innovation and difference experienced by some Portuguese companies in Switzerland, like Panorama or Delta, has also contributed for their renowned success in such a competitive market like the Swiss. And despite the value and relevance that must be attributed to the national business sector, for the visibility that the country has gained also through its investment in research and development sectors, it is no less important the role that must be praised and emphasized of the Portuguese diaspora in this country, with a more direct relationship with the areas of innovation, biotechnology, and pharmaceuticals, in contributing to a better and renovated perception of an innovative and talented country. I hope that this conference will further fuel the desire to get to know Portugal and its national genius better. I thank you for the interest it has aroused, and I salute my colleague for having been able to step out of his comfort zone. It should be noted that consular work requires hard work and sensitivity, which the Consul General also has, because it is also by taking risks in the 21st century that we do justice to those who, more than 500 years ago, wanted to see and discover far beyond our physical borders. Thank you very much and the best success in the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your inspiring words. Thank you very much also for this comment. It's really important that we step out of your comfort zone and try to reach out to a wider audience. I'll give the floor to Madame Charlotte, so she can give us a presentation on how Switzerland organizes itself in the matter of IP and what advantages it can take on. Madame Charlotte, give you the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Consul General, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be here today with you and to have the opportunity to present you a few things about intellectual property in Switzerland. I'll start with innovation in Switzerland. All the way to the rocks. To the rocks, exactly. Thank you. Well, Switzerland is not very blessed with natural resources. Our natural resources look like this. It's not oil, it's not minerals, it's stones. Admittedly, depending on how you stack them or how they are presented, they are a lot more attractive and easier to sell. You can have a little bit of a tourism industry around it. But still, you know, having no natural resources, how did we manage to become a successful, innovative country? And I think that is the answer, you know, becoming innovative. For 13 years now, Switzerland has been in the first place of the Global Innovation Index. And very often I'm confronted with the question, well, how did we manage to do that? I think it's fair to say that Switzerland's first resources are the ideas of the people who live here, but an idea is not enough. You need many things that work together to be able to transform it into innovation, to implement it, to sell it, to bring it to market. And the question, you know, what's the recipe? What do we do right? Is there a recipe that you can just copy and every country has the same possibilities? And this, honestly, is a very difficult question to answer. Many things need to work together. I can try to give you a few elements of answers, but I think even we don't know exactly how it all managed to work out. I mean, one element that definitely helps is being a small country. If you're a company in Switzerland, you have a very small domestic market. It's usually too small to really be economically successful. So you have to go out in the wide world and you have to make sure you're enough, you know, competitive enough to be able to survive in the international global market. Another element, and it's probably also a question of philosophy, is we have a lot of competition within Switzerland already. We have a federal government, but we also have 26 cantons. The cantons have a large autonomy, can regulate a lot of things, and they are in competition among each other. So each canton is trying to provide the best possible framework conditions for its local economy, for companies to come and settle in their own canton. That means lean government, which is a factor crucial for innovation. And the third thing, we have a very good education system. It also comes with the fact that it would have to be attractive globally. We also need to have the people that are able to do so. Being a multilingual country also helps in the sense that it helps going abroad and having these discussions. And we are kind of like reaping the rewards for this excellent education system. Google, for example, one of the reasons they decided to open their largest engineering research center in Zurich was because we have the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology there, which creates an ecosystem which both benefits from each other. When we talk about IP, we think a lot about innovation, and patents are kind of like at the forefront of the mindset. But IP is not only that, it's also reputation, which is protected by trademark, which is also protected by indications of origin. The Swissness factor is what comes when you think about reputation. Over the years, Switzerland has managed to develop a brand which is synonym for reliability, high quality. The value of that brand depends on the product, depends on the people that are buying the product, but depending on the product, depending on the person, there's a willingness to pay up to 50% more for the Swiss product if it has been made in Switzerland than if it has not been. So this is a high margin which we need to keep up. This is also why we have a Swissness legislation, it is called, which really defines under which conditions we are allowed to put made in Switzerland on the different products to ensure that we can keep up the reputation and we don't have companies just free riding on the reputation of Switzerland. Having given a wider picture of innovation, I'm here as the head of the Swiss IP office. So what do we do in the Swiss IP office to contribute? You know, we are one of those cogwheels in this innovation sector. Our mission, not surprisingly, is to foster innovation. How do we do that? We're the Swiss Confederation Center of Competence for all IP rights. I think this is one of the very attractive factors that we combine all the different elements, because if you're in a company, in the economy, you don't really care whether it's a patent or a trademark or if it's a design. In the end, you have a product or service, you want to go to the market, and which element you use to protect is not at the forefront. You need to have an encompassing strategy for your IP element. Having all the different IP rights in the same office allows us to also on our side have this overview of the area. We manage intellectual property rights. I think that's the core task of all IP offices, but it's a very important one. We use the full potential of digitalization and we network to ensure that procedures and register management are user-friendly. We don't limit ourselves to this core task of an IP office. We also have extensive services, information services. We have two goals. The one is to raise awareness about IP. The idea is not to tell people, you know, what is the right IP strategy for you. There are other people more specialized to do that. But we want to make sure that people think about IP in the right moment. You know, think about whether do I want to patent something beforehand and not after you've published it at a conference and then we tell you, well, we cannot patent it because it's not new anymore. Trademark, don't develop all your marketing material before you've considered, you know, is it a trademark that I can register in Switzerland, but also abroad, because, you know, things develop quickly. You're very quickly suddenly expanding in the different markets and you need to think about all these elements. But we also offer services for specialized IP specialists, so not just for the general public. Commercial services, especially in the area of patent searches, freedom to operate, for example, or patent landscape analysis, so that we can make use of all the information that is included in the patent registers. It's not just a register to be consulted once in a while, but it actually contains the state of the technology on a worldwide basis. This is a trove of information that we need to make available to searchers, but also to the economic sector. And one thing we also do is we work very closely with the private sector. One specific example is in the fight against counterfeits. We have a public-private partnership, which is called Stop Piracy. It has 26 members, but really different government authorities and many associations of the private sector. And the goal there is to inform the general public of what the consequences are if you buy counterfeits, because some people think, well, you know, who cares? I wasn't going to buy the real one anyway, so what's the damage if I buy the fake one? But there are consequences, not just for the owners or producers of the original product, but also for safety, for security, black market economy, a lot of criminality that is being supported by these little acts that some people don't realize what consequences they have. I also gave you a few numbers to give you an idea of the size of the office. 320 people working at the office. We have a budget of around 60 million Swiss francs a year. We examine around 35,000 trademarks a year, 1,400 patents. You're going to say, but that's very little. We just mentioned that you were, leaders in innovation. Why is this number so small? Well, it comes from the fact that 95% of patents valid in Switzerland are actually being examined at the EPO and not in Switzerland, which is also, I think, a sign of a very globalized economy, because if you come to us, you have a patent in Switzerland. If you go to Zurique, you have a patent. Possibly in several countries, at least you have the option to do so. Design, smaller protection right compared to the other two. And then I also gave you some numbers on information activities with 850 assisted patent searches, 100 IP trainings with 1,900 participants, and also several events with partners, 20 startup events, trying to reach the circles that we need to deal actively with IP. And last, I was going to touch on 3 topics. One of our mission is also to ensure good framework conditions for Switzerland, for IP, and to do that, we need to constantly update and improve them. One current project is the strengthening of the Swiss patent. Currently, if you come to the Swiss office, we'll examine it, but not for novelty and inventive stuff. So if you want a fully examined patent, you have to go to EPO. There has been a revision of the Patent Act, which will allow us to introduce also a full examination, not mandatory, but if you ask for it. And we will also keep the option of having partially examined patent as we have today. So for SMEs and smaller companies that want to have a class and a cheap patent and don't want a fully examined one, we still have that option. The law has just been passed, I think, last week in Parliament. So now we are fully focusing on implementation, which will take place in the next year and a half. Another revision is the one of the copyright law we are currently discussing. It is a discussion that has already taken place at the EU level with mandatory remuneration for the use of journalistic works. Google News, we all know it. It's very convenient. It has a short summary of the article, so-called snippets. And consequence of that is, for media companies, it's positive in the sense that a lot of people see the articles and then might come on their website and read actually the articles, so they reach readers. At the same time, it also leads to advertising really going to Google and no longer to the company. So we're currently examining to introduce remuneration for the use of journalistic works. Just finished consultations. It is quite controversial. So the first step in that project will be deciding on, what to do after the consultation. Federal Council is expected to do that before the summer break. And the last element brings me back to fighting counterfeits. A lot of counterfeits coming into Switzerland come actually by mail in small parcel. It's private persons ordering 2 watches, 3 T-shirts, or whatever it is. We've noticed a huge increase this pandemic with online shopping, which makes it even more important that we have efficient procedures in that regard. And there, the current procedure is quite cumbersome, so we decided to simplify it to make it more efficient, and through that to improve the fight against these procedures. Next to the simplification, the other element that is of interest to us in the office is that we are moving the competence from the customs border to the IP office. Obviously not opening the packages at the border. This is still the customs border that we do. But once they've identified counterfeits, they send the whole thing to us and we are responsible for the procedure afterwards. So it's a very interesting project also from the implementation side. as it brings new challenges with it. That brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope I could give you a short overview of the IP elements that are keeping us busy in Switzerland, and I look forward to the further presentations. Thank you.
Giving the floor to it's here and online. If anyone has a question for Madame Saint-Martin regarding the Swiss system. Pedro is one of our panelists this afternoon.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I'd just like to ask you, how do you actually interact with universities? Are there offices, local offices? The companies also engage with you in terms, is there a national network that engage with you in terms of the organization of patents? Do you meet regularly? How does the ecosystem actually work with each other? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Well, we entertain a network of collaboration with all different stakeholders in the IP world. You mentioned universities, so we're in contact with universities, with the tech transfer offices of the universities. We are also in contact with different higher education institutions, with all the different stakeholder associations. We always talk about the, I don't know if it doesn't translate so well into English, but the innovation cake with many different stakeholders. And the idea is to, benefit from each other's strengths. Through that, provide the biggest added value to everyone.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm curious about the freedom to operate service that you provide. I don't know if you can explain it a little bit more. How often is it used? And if it is SMEs or larger companies. So in fact, what characteristics that they have that in fact they are useful for the ecosystem in the here.
Thank you. Well, we provide different commercial services, and for these we are in competition with all different providers on a worldwide basis. So it's mostly companies with a higher level of IP maturity. It's not a product that's specifically geared towards SMEs. And freedom to operate, basically what it is, you have a product, you want to go to the market, and it's always better to know beforehand and go into licensing discussions than going to the market and then have somebody come and say, well, you're actually violating my patent or my trademark or whatever it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, because in Portugal, it is a kind of service that is provided by patent attorneys, by lawyers, European patent attorneys. So I was trying to understand, in fact, what are the differences between this kind of services being made within companies, provided by European patent attorneys, and the service that is in fact provided by a public institution. I don't know how many examiners you have, but the kind of qualification. So I was wondering how in fact it is in practicalities.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. Makes it easier. Well, one of the red lines we apply when we provide the service is that we give information, but we do not advise the company on what they should be doing with that information afterwards. So that is really the activity of the patent lawyers. What's the right strategy for you? The only thing we are going to do is, you come with the product, and we will do a search through all the different registers and patent information and give you the report.
Oh, the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Saint-Martin, for your presentation and comments. I'll now give the floor to Anna to give a presentation regarding the Portuguese system.
Boa tarde a todos. Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Counsel, Dear Catherine, dear speakers and dear guests, good afternoon to everyone. I'm not so good today. I hope that my voice will be okay. I start by congratulate Gonçalo Mota for organizing this very interesting event that brings at the same table the public administration, the business sector, academia, and many other actors from the Portuguese innovation system. As the president of the Portuguese office, it's an honor for me to open this moment of sharing and learning. The title is From Research to Patent is the theme we will addressing today. Facing this challenge, I quote the former patent examiner in Switzerland, Albert Einstein. The mind that opens to a new idea never returns to its original size. And this statement could be more accurate when we think about the potential that human creations have when protected by industrial property rights. A study conducted by the European Union Intellectual Property Office, EU-IPO, and European Patent Office, EPO, analyzing industries with intensive use of IP rights and economic performance in the European Union points to the following indicators. Portuguese industries that make intensive use of IP are responsible for 1.4 million jobs and 43% of our country's GDP, and pay significantly higher salaries, plus 41% than the rest. I shared with you this data with no doubt highlight the importance of protecting your IP rights, the trademarks, patents, GIs, designs, and so on. And the development of an IPR portfolio is much more than a business card. It's now part of the DNA of the most promising companies. IP rights play a fundamental role for an SME to develop and generate added value. We cannot forget that the majority of the Portuguese business is related to SMEs, more than 99%. However, data from the study also indicate that only 10% of SMEs have IP rights. So a lot of work must be done to increase the level of IP literacy in our society. The Portuguese office is the public entity responsible for granting, maintaining, and distinguish industrial property rights. We don't have copyright in our office. The copyright is with the Minister of Culture. And we have also the mission to promote and to aware the importance of IP. Let me give you a general overview of some data in Portugal. In the last year, we had 21,000 trademarks were registered in our office, a lot. In fact, concerning trademarks, Portugal is in the top 4 of the European countries regarding the average number of trademark applications per million inhabitants. Designs, as Katerina told, is also, we had only 200 designs applications. And regarding patents, national patents, we had 950 national applications. Regarding the number of European patent applications of Portuguese origin, we have good news. It was published yesterday or 2 days before that last year 229 were registered according to the information of the Patent Index, an increase of almost 6%. Computer technology and medical technology continue to be the most innovative sectors in Portugal. And let me give you one more number. 52% of the patent applications from Portugal filed with EPO last year named at least one woman as the inventor. This is important also. For the national route, Portugal has in our industrial property code the provisional patent applications, which was specifically tailored for academia, that allows inventors to protect their inventions in a very simple manner to obtain one priority date. This regime represents 55% of the total number of the patent applications that we received each year. All of us know that the number of patents is most definitely a reflection of a country's inventive and innovative capacity. That's why Portugal has a great margin to grow. It is our commitment to make efforts to increase the number of patent applications by national citizens, especially at European and international level. I must mention also some mechanisms currently in place in support IP in Portugal. The patent box regime, one of the most appealing in the European Union, which allows an exclusion of taxation of up to 85% of the income obtained from the assignment or temporary use of eligible rights. Another regime, the tax incentive system for business, CFID, that allows companies that have had ID activities and investments in the fiscal year to recover part of their investment. Another regime specific to universities, we have fee exemption for universities and polytechnics under the legal regime. We have a specific law that the universities don't pay anything to apply in Portugal patents. And also, we have also the European Fund to support the protection of SMEs industrial property rights, whose last edition is taking place this year with a value of 20 million euros of a total of 60 million. This is a regime that allows SMEs a partial refund of expenses incurred with IP registration requests and other services. This is a product that the EU IPO is dealing. And in the scope of enforcement, it's never too much to remember that maintaining IP rights also requires active and effective surveillance over them. In Portugal, we have the Portuguese Anti-Counterfeiting Group that combats the counterfeit and the piracy, composed by policy authorities and other entities with multidisciplinary competence. The Portuguese office is dealing with this group, but we have a lot of different entities from public and the private sector. And another good initiative of which Lisbon is a part is the Authenticities Project. This is a project carried out by the EU IPO also and the member states, aimed at raising awareness in the local society about the value of IP as well as the adverse effects of counterfeiting. Lisbon received the Authenticity Seal in 2022. I cannot fail to mention another important initiative for Portugal regarding the network of industrial property support offices, GAPIs. We have here today with us some GAPIs existing in our country since 2008, which has 24 entities, and it's currently being expanded to polytechnics institutions with the access of at least 8 more institutions. These units, GAPIs, have the clear mission of promoting and disseminating the importance of using IP in Portugal. They are part of a national strategy focused on the development of strategic partnership with interface and business support institutions spread throughout the national territory based in business associations, universities, polytechnicals, technological centers, and so on. We are part of an IP ecosystem. The Portuguese office is currently in the process of preparing our 25-23 strategic plan. We recently launched a consultation with our staff and also with our stakeholders to gather their contributions. Please, if we don't do it yet, please send us your proposals. We want this management tool to be a document made by many hands in an open, transparent and inclusive process with the help of all those who are part of the IP system. The great objectives of tomorrow are also those of today, reinforcing literacy about IP and increasing the use of this system in Portugal. Therefore, I hope that what brings us together here today, speaking about IP in the Portuguese diaspora, will contribute to the economic growth of our country, not forgetting the sustainability of the planet. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
We have a question.
We have a question online. Yes. Okay, that's by you. You can connect your microphone and ask your question.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. It's congratulations for organizing this. I think every conference on IP is very relevant. And I'm a lawyer, I'm an IP professional working in Lisbon. So I'm very happy to be hearing different people talk about IP. I had my question before Ana Bandeira talked, but and my question was for the IP Swiss office, because I'm curious, and because I work in Portugal, I am aware of all the bilateral reunions, meetings, the network that Ana Bandeira talked about, especially within the frame of the European Union. But I'm curious to find out if the Swiss IP office also has that network of IPs or that connection with other IP offices, and namely, what are the relations that the Swiss IP office has with WIPO? We know that WIPO is also in Switzerland, although not in Zurich. And I'm curious if you participate in any special way with them, or if you have any activities with them, just out of curiosity. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your question. So yes, we have a very active exchanges. We are an active member at WIPO. We host the site. So not only are we participating in all the different multilateral meetings, but obviously also have regular exchanges with the WIPO Secretariat. We are a founding member of EPO, where consequently we are participating in all the meetings there too, administrative council and so on. Then we also have a lot of activities at the bilateral level, where we exchange directly with different IP offices around the world, some on a more general basis, and we also have a selection of countries of particular strategic importance where we attempt to have deeper and a little bit more formalized dialogues. And finally, we are also very active in the area of technical cooperation. We currently have 11 projects ongoing with different countries where we try to help them achieve some developments, be it in developing an IP office, be it in developing legislation in a specific area, or having patent experts with the necessary competences. It varies very much from one country to the other because it is based on what they need and not on our own needs. I hope that helps answer your question.
I'll ask the same question, but to Anna. I think we have some connection between WIPO and some developing countries.
Yes, we have a specific relation with the CPLP, the Portuguese-speaking countries. And we have in Portugal a lot of memorandums of understanding signed with each countries, Brazil, Cabo Verde, Angola. We help them a lot on training activities when they ask us to train about IP. Actually, Cabo Verde now wants that Portugal share with them the experience that we have in our anti-counterfeiting group. They want to create an anti-counterfeiting group in Cape Verde, and they ask us to share our experience. So, of course, our role is also to help these Portuguese African-speaking countries.